Okay, so today the topic that we're going to be talking about is multiplying fractions. So I'm going to go ahead and write that as my title. So multiplying fractions definitely is a little bit different than adding and subtracting fractions. So the other day, we did adding and subtracting fractions and we found a common denominator, right? So multiplying fractions is a little bit different. So that's why we're gonna go ahead and write this little rhyme. And it's really gonna be to your best benefit if you would memorize this. It's kind of catchy, so hopefully it'll be easy for you to memorize. So it says to multiply fractions, you know you've got them. It's top times top. And bottom times bottom. So we'll just say it a couple times. To multiply fractions, you know you've got them. It's top times top and bottom times bottom. It's really important for you. There's a really important word here, to multiply fractions. Notice it does not say mixed numbers, right? So anytime you're using this rhyme, you have to make sure you have two fractions. It cannot be mixed numbers, and we're going to talk about that during our examples. So the first example that we're going to do is really kind of a simple one. It's 1/2 times 6/9. 1/2 times 6/9. So our rhyme says to multiply fractions, you know you've got them. It's top times top, so that just means your numerator, top times top. 1 times 6 would be 6. And then bottom times bottom. 2 times 9 is 18. I wish we were done. We're not though. So 6 and 18 actually have some common factors. So I can divide 6 and 18 both by the same number. I can divide those both by 6. So 6 divided by 6 is 1, and 18 divided by 6 is 3. So absolutely we have to make sure that our fractions are in simplest form. 6/18 isn't wrong, it's just not in simplest form. So in 7th grade, we absolutely have to make sure all of our answers are in completely simplified fraction form. All right, let's do our next example. Next example, we're gonna start with 3.5 times 4/5. 3.5 times 4/5. And notice we don't have two fractions this time. We actually have a mixed number. So we have to make sure that we change our mixed number to a fraction. So before we start, we're gonna change mixed numbers to improper fractions first. So before we do any multiplication, we're gonna change our mixed numbers to improper fractions. So the way that we do that is we take our denominator, we multiply it times our whole number, and then we add your numerator. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So this would be 7/2. Some people or elementary school teachers would call this the popcorn method, right? Because it kind of looks like a kernel of popcorn. So this mixed number actually converts to 7/2, and it's still going to be times 4/5. So now we use our little rhyme again. Top times top. 7 times 4 is 28. Bottom times bottom. 2 times 5 is 10. So 28/10. And that's not actually done yet, just because, again, we have to make sure that our fraction is in simplified form. This is improper. So what we do to change an improper fraction back to a mixed number is we divide. So maybe you've heard the term top in, bottom out. So 10 goes into 28 2 whole times. 2 times 10 is 20, and there's 8 left over. Okay, so now we need to write this as a mixed number. So 10 went into 28 2 whole times with 8 pieces left over out of 10. Okay, so 2 and 8/10. 2 and 8/10, unfortunately, is still not completely simplified because 8 and 10 have some common factors, right? So 8 and 10, I can divide both of those by 2. So my final answer is going to be 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So 2 and 4/5. Let's talk about expectations for just a second, because in 7th grade, the thing that people and students have the most difficulty with, it isn't this part, it's this part. So when we talk about simplifying fractions, really simplifying them, changing them from improper to mixed, and then simplifying them all the way down, students don't struggle with this part. They don't struggle with the top times top and bottom times bottom. They really kind of struggle sometimes with the simplifying. So make sure you're using those divisibility rules that we talked about. It actually helps if you know your multiplication facts a little bit, so that is helpful as well, okay? All right, let's do our next example. 7 2/3 times 9/10. 7 2/3 times 9/10. Again, the first thing that we're going to do is change our mixed numbers to improper fractions. We did that by doing denominator times whole number. So 3 times 7 is 21, plus 3 is 23. So this is 23/3 times 9/10. Awesome. So then we go back to our rhyme and we continue to just memorize it to multiply fractions. You know, you've got them. It's top times top. So 23 times 10, I might not know what times 9. 23 times 9, I might not know what that is in my head. So I might do some multiplication. So 9 times 3 is 27. 9 times 2 is 18, 19, 20. So that's 207. And then 3 times 10 is 30. Okay, again, the same situation, we have an improper fraction that we need to change to a mixed number. So we're going to do some division, some top in, bottom out. So 30 goes into 207. I don't know how many times 30 goes into 207 off the top of my head, so I might need to do some scratch work. I might just look at the 3. So I know that 3 times 6 is 18, which is pretty close. So that means 330 times 6 is 180. And again, if you need to do some scratch work on the side, if you want to do some guess and check, you definitely can do that, okay? So 7 minus 0 is 7, and 20 minus 18 is 2. Awesome. So 30 went into 207, 6 whole times, with 27 left over out of 30. 27 left over out of 30. Okay, so again, we got to check our fraction to make sure it's in simplest form, and it is not. If you're not sure exactly how to find that out, I would look at a multiplication table. I would use those divisibility rules, and if I do that, then I know that I can divide 27 and 30 both by 3. So my whole number is going to stay the same. 27 divided by 3 is 9, and 30 divided by 3 is 10. So 6 and 9/10 would be our final answer on that one. All right, we've got one more example to talk through. Move my paper up just a little bit here. Awesome. Okay, so it's going to be 4/7 times the whole number, 22. 4/7 times the whole number, 22. So again, we need to have some fractions, and 22 is not a fraction. So we need to figure out, how do we change a whole number into a fraction? 4/7 is going to stay the same. And to change a whole number into a fraction, hopefully you remember, we're going to add a 1 as a denominator. So remember, fraction is just a division problem. So 22 divided by 1 is still 22. So that's why adding a 1 as a denominator works for us, okay? So we're going to write us a little note. Use a denominator of 1. Use a denominator of 1 to make a whole number into a fraction. Okay? So now we're going to do top times top and bottom times bottom. So to multiply fractions, you know you've got them. It's top times top. 4 times 22 is 88. And bottom times bottom. 7 times 1 is 7. Again, not quite done. We've got to change our improper fraction to a mixed number. So we're definitely going to do some division again. 88 divided by 7. 7 goes into 8 one time. 7 goes into 18 two times, with 4 left over. So it went in 12 whole times with 4 left over out of 7. 4/7 is already simplified, so this absolutely is already our final answer. So let's talk through just really quickly one more time. To multiply fractions, you know you've got them. It's top times top and bottom times bottom. I absolutely would encourage you to memorize that. It's going to help you throughout your math career. You might even use it when you get to college like I did. So just remember, to multiply fractions, you know you've got them. It's top times top and bottom times bottom.